Greetings and welcome to Retention Chronicles, the podcast with learnings from expert e-commerce brands and partners. I'm your host, Mariah Parsons. If you're here, you're either on a quest for e-commerce enlightenment or you accidentally clicked the wrong link. Either way, I am thrilled you stumbled into our corner of the internet, and I hope you'll stick around. We've got pearls of wisdom for everyone, whether you're running a multi-million-dollar business or simply just starting out on your entrepreneurial journey. Before we unleash the brilliance of today's guest, let's give a shout out to our podcast sponsor, Malomo. Malomo is so much more than just another Shopify app. They're post-purchase wizards, making beautiful and branded order tracking smoother than a jazz solo, so our amazing founders, like our guests, can keep their customers happy and up to date while they track their orders. So hit that subscribe button, like it'll increase your LTV overnight, and go listen to our other episodes at gomalomo.com. That's GOMALOMO.com. Get ready for insights, chuckles, and perhaps a profound realization or two with this newest episode of Retention Chronicles. Alrighty, hello everyone, and welcome back to Retention Chronicles. Harry, so happy to have you here with us today. For our listeners that have listened to a couple of our ecosystem episodes before this, you will notice that Noah, who is our one of our former hosts, is no longer here at Malomo. He has a great opportunity that he's pursuing, so we will miss him greatly, but he's not going too far. So I get the pleasure of hosting our ecom series episodes, and Harry, you're our first guest today. So thank you for joining. Super excited to have you here. We're going to start off. If you could just give a background on yourself and where you're coming from, that would be great.
Yeah, Mariah, pleasure to be here. Thank you for having me on. I'm Harry Willis. I'm the commercial director at Relo, and we help CPG brands specifically to drive more repeat purchase and convert more of those repeat purchasing customers onto paid subscription programs. We power brands like Absolute Collagen, Versed Skincare, Soylent, and many of the leading flagship CPG brands, many of whom also overlap with Malomo, which is of course great. And excited to run you through a couple of ideas today.
Wonderful. Thank you. So one of the things that Noah brought to this side of the podcast is, before we dive into the tactical side of things, talking about something that you're excited in your personal life. So of course, going to have to follow that tradition. So what's one thing that you have? It can be really anything. We've gotten a lot of fun answers, not to put any pressure on you, but what's one thing you're looking forward to in your personal life right now?
I've been doing jiu-jitsu for a very long time, Brazilian jiu-jitsu and no-gi jiu-jitsu, and I just got my purple belt in January, so that was very
Wonderful.
Very big for
Congrats.
me, because I've been working on that for I don't even know. I've been doing jiu-jitsu maybe 6 or 7 years, depending on whether COVID's really included in there when I stopped. But that was an amazing surprise, and then I'm just falling in love with the whole sport again, and it's just amazing. So I'm kind of looking forward to every session even more than I was before.
Oh, that's wonderful. I love hearing that. I used to do Taekwondo when I was like little,
really?
like 5, 6 years old. Yeah. My father would take my sister and I, and then we'd go right to figure skating after. So I kind of forget.
Nice combination.
Yeah,
That's
right.
Great.
Yeah,
a lot of spinning.
Yep, a lot of spinning. I'm sure I got dizzy on those Saturdays. But it's it's a distant memory by now. But walk me through how, because you said it was a surprise that you got your purple belt. So is it just kind of is it not defined training around okay, this is when you will for sure get a raise in your belt?
Yeah, it's an interesting one. It changes from academy to academy. Generally your head instructor will have a kind of somewhat of a schedule for you, and people progress at completely different speeds. But one of the things which will limit the speed in which you progress is generally moving around academies. And throughout the time I've been training, I've moved a lot, not really by wanting to move gyms or academies, just literally because I've been moving around where I lived and where I worked and these kind of things. So I've had just various different chapters where I got very close at other academies and then had to move and start all over again. So this particular progression from blue to purple it's one of the hardest apparently, just in terms of the general journey all the way to black belt, but it was just particularly rewarding because it had just taken like the level of effort and hours that went into it was crazy. And so to just be presented with it out the blue is funny. I was surprised after years and years of waiting. So
Yeah.
it was a funny combination.
I love that. Well, congrats again.
Thank you.
I've recently been getting back into swimming. And so, but before that, had a quite a long stint with hot yoga. And there isn't, like levels in which you're progressing, but you could just tell the difference, after you do something for a while. So years, under my figurative belt, was a rower before that. And so I definitely know the payoff
Wow.
of lot of time and energy goes into athletic endeavors, and when you get to see yourself advance, it's a lot of fun. So that's awesome.
Yeah, and it's fun kind of bookending. I think obviously so many sports don't have any kind of grading system, and that has its benefits and also its bad things. But I think the really cool thing with grades is they kind of put everything into little chapters. So much like a career, I think when you move from job to job, you just have this kind of bookended moment where you can kind of seal it and look at it for what it was and then move on to the next thing, which was so it's particularly interesting, and who knows when I'll move on to Brown, but it's gonna take a lot of effort. That's been the lesson so far.
Yep, and you can probably guarantee it'll be a surprise and exciting all in the same. Just like it was with the purple belt. Well, we can put a bookend on kind of the personal side of things for now, and dive into the tactic that you would like to share with our listeners today. So can you walk us through just like high level what you're going to share with us, and then we can dive on into it?
Yeah, definitely. So firstly, I'll explain just what type of brands this is relevant for. I'll then look at generally where brands like this struggle in the areas that we can help, which is increasing repeat orders and subscriptions basically for CPG brands. And again, I'll just revisit the general structure of looking at the problems that are generally faced in those specific areas, and then how our solution can help. And at the end, I've also got a kind of trial offer that we can extend to friends of Malomo as well.
Okay, wonderful. Yeah, we love repeat Oreos. Repeat orders.
Oreos are good.
Yeah, we also love repeat Oreos. Yeah, even though it's 10 a.m. Where I'm filming, but yes, love repeat orders here on Retention Chronicles. So let's dive in.
Awesome. So I'm just going to share my screen here, but for everyone who is listening, I'll make sure it's all pretty clearly explained as well. So we are a repeat revenue platform built specifically for CPG brands, as I mentioned. Now, Relo is designed really for a very specific niche of businesses. So as I mentioned, they must be in the CPG vertical. They must have low average order value, repeat purchase products. So usually that means we work in the beauty, pets, food and beverage, health and supplement space. And brands, to be able to work with Relo, we require them to be over 1,000 orders per month. They must be using Shopify and Klaviyo together because these are the main tools we built the platform on top of. And because they're in the CPG space, this usually means they have some kind of subscription program, and we integrate with all of the leading subscription programs out there. Anyone basically that uses the Shopify checkout. So whether you're on Skio, Recharge, State.ai, Smarter, Yotpo subscriptions, whatever it might be, we can help you grow that subscription. And from our research into this specific segment, we found that the biggest customer retention challenges that brands were facing in this area were usually split into these three key themes. It's getting customers onto repeat order through replenishment and cross-selling, taking those repeat order customers and moving them effectively onto subscriptions, and finally making sure that those subscribers don't cancel. So those are the kind of holy trinity for CPG customer retention. And over the course of the next 15, 20 minutes, I'll just run through the first two areas of getting customers to repeat and then moving them onto subscriptions. Is that all clear so far, Mariah?
Yeah, wonderful. I can't wait to dive in.
Nice. Cool.
I'm sure I'll have questions along the way as well. So I'm excited.
Nice one. All righty. So yeah, top level, this is how the Relo solution helps with those first two areas. So the moment, if you're a brand, you connect to our Shopify app, we ingest and analyze every single one of your historic Shopify orders. Now, this is usually a gold mine of data for brands, but they don't necessarily know how to break that data down into anything meaningful. And how to take that data and then splice it into Klaviyo so it can send better timed email and SMS. So we designed a predictive analytics which can take that historic order log and it can start to process it to understand which customers are ready to reorder their last product on which specific day, which customers are ready to cross-sell on which specific day, and what product are they most likely to want to cross-sell onto based on historic trends. And finally, from those habitually repurchasing customers who are showing some telltale signs in the data that they're on the perfect day to convert onto a new subscription, whether you're using Recharge, Skio, Yotpo subscriptions, whatever it might be.
Wonderful.
So this gives us thousands of different types of predictions. And of course, we've got to get that into Klaviyo so it can actually be put into action in your CRM. So we have triggers that sit at the top of 3 Klaviyo flows, namely it is a replenishment flow, a cross-sell flow, and a convert onto subscription flow. And these triggers basically tell Klaviyo which day it should send per customer in order to increase the efficacy of the comms that you're sending out. So let's imagine that you are subscribed to a coffee brand. The net effect of the brand using a tool like Relo is when you're literally just your last scoop away from running out of that tin of coffee and you're at the moment where you're thinking about repurchasing, that is when you would receive the reminder because we've done that data analysis to understand when that might be. Or another example is you may have just been purchasing on a really regular basis in a cadence that matches up to a particular subscription, and therefore the comms would be around trying a new subscription plan. Finally, as well, we have a specific checkout that we click through to from the emails and SMS, which are being sent out through Klaviyo. The reason for that is we know a ton of information about the customer, so there's no need to just send them back to a product page to convert their purchase. We have a preloaded cart that we call the magic cart, which means customers can pay or become a new subscriber with you within just 3 clicks of receiving that email or SMS, which usually shaves off 2 or 3 clicks from that normal customer journey.
So that's awesome. So real quick, so you're looking at the Shopify order data, correct? Not like if someone is trafficking the website or anything like that, right? You're just using that data that you said there's like a gold mine of data in Shopify.
Yes, exactly right.
Okay.
Just the Shopify order history, right back to the inception of the store itself. So the first ever order that was made all the way through to now.
Wonderful. And then as far as the like magic cart, is that something that's popping, like where is that presented, I guess, in the customer journey?
So it's when the customer clicks on the email. So imagine you receive a replenishment email and it says, hey, Mariah, is it time to top up your coffee? You click on the call to action. Instead of being thrown back to a product page where there's just a ton of distraction and it's usually optimized for a first-time purchase, what we do is the magic cart pops open over the top of that email. So you click the call to action, pops open over the top, and it's completely personalized to you. Hey, first name, here's the product you're due to reorder. Have you considered these other cross-sells? And if they click checkout now, we load all of that information straight into the native Shopify checkout with all of their previous address, first name, last name, billing address, all pre-filled.
Awesome. Yeah, I love the pre-filled. That's what I was hoping it was, where it was just like a pop-up window, kind of like, something like a review or whatnot of like just right there. So you can't even get pulled away from a, traditional product page. That's awesome. Thanks.
Nice. So yeah, what I'm going to do, I'll just dive into the specific use cases, firstly looking at repeat ordering and cross-selling, and then we'll just touch on how to grow subscribers as well. So basically, the problems that we identified when we spoke with hundreds of brands in our research phase for the product with increasing reorders and cross-sells are split into 4 key areas. Basically, different products and consumers have really different times between reorders. Imagine the case of a coffee brand. I order a 1 kilogram pack of coffee and I drink it once a day. You may order a 500-gram pack of coffee and drink it 3 times a day. 2 dramatically different reorder timeframes based on product tendencies and also on customer tendencies. And when you multiply that out across thousands of customers, you can start to see how that just undulates across everybody massively differently. And typically merchants will set up a single average reorder period across all reminders they're going to send out, just to avoid the complexity of dealing with those different timeframes. So they just say, after 45 days, let's just remind people to reorder. And those who want to invest more time into Klaviyo are faced with taking Klaviyo replenishment flows, duplicating them out across lots and lots of different flows and using them all to target different product segments, which is just a real headache to set up. You end up with a sprawling mess of Klaviyo flows, and they don't update in real time with the data. And finally, looking at cross sells from within that data is also just really challenging. Klaviyo doesn't have many native cross-selling functionalities built into it, so that was a key area where we found that we could really start to innovate. So where the Relo solution comes in to solve those problems is we predict the exact day to send reorder reminders, and we do that based on 3 key bits of information. Firstly, we look at the customer record. So if we have a customer called Harry who's ordered 4 times, and we can see that Harry has ordered on average every 28 days across his 4 orders. We know that for Harry specifically, order number 5 is statistically very likely to come after 28 days. However, there'll be some scenarios where it's like the first order in that journey. And of course, you don't have a customer record in that scenario because you haven't built that up yet. So in that scenario, what we do is we look at the individual product that's due to be reordered all the way down to the SKU detail. And we look at every single customer who ever purchased that SKU in the past to see what that average follow-on time frame was when people went on to repeat purchase it. So that gives us a really educated guess right from order number 1 to start affecting it positively. And finally, we multiply out the time frame based on the number of products which were added to that last order. So it scales proportionally with just how much of the product they've ordered. If they've ordered double the amount of coffee, it makes sense. It should take double the amount of time to replenish. Finally, as well, we also look at the cross-sell relationship. So if somebody has purchased product A, we look at every single other customer who purchased product A to see what product B was if they went on to purchase something different in the future. And essentially what that means is you can see all of the historic relationships between your products that might otherwise be sitting there completely untapped. So at this stage, we basically have a running tally of when we think each customer is due to reorder next, and then we also have a cross-sell of something we think they might also like to try. Is that all clear so far, Mariah?
Yeah, and I think it makes sense to call back to what you originally said in terms of, I believe it was like one merchants having 1,000 orders completed or a month or something along the way of like where you need to pull that data from. Because as you were speaking, right initially, I was saying, what if someone's earlier in their like what if they only have one product that is, their best seller, right? And then they're going to build out their catalog based on that. My first thought was, like if they don't, maybe only 2 people out of 10,000, I think it would be a very rare case, have purchased like the same product after product A. What you all would do there. But I got to thinking around, the criteria kind of that you laid out in which working with your team makes sense. And then right after that, my thought was if you could give this information to a Shopify merchant to then say like, oh, people are maybe like looking for, this is like product A, right? And then product B they also have, but a product C that maybe they're iterating on, that this data could help them with like product development. I think that might be like, have you ever seen someone use kind of this use case for like tying, I guess, like using the relationship between customer or product A and B to then maybe inform a product they're building currently?
Yeah, definitely. I think it's just that kind of light bulb moment that you mentioned when people see the relationships between the products and they go, yeah, that makes sense. Usually they've anticipated quite a lot of it, to be honest, but it's always just interesting seeing the percentages of who chooses what after what. What we do see, though, which I think is another interesting way of looking at it, is sometimes instead of using our predictive analytics for cross sells, brands will decide to override some of that, and they will encourage cross sells of particular products with other products. So we've had some instances where a brand just has a lot of product B, and they've got all the customers purchasing product A, and they just want to always make sure product B is being suggested just so they can work through the old stock. And through the checkout process while the cross-sell is being recommended, there's also an opportunity to, you can use our predictive analytics, but you could also override that with your own logic. So it can be used kind of in both ways.
Yeah. Okay. Love that use case. Yep. Makes sense.
Um, so yeah, now we've got, as I mentioned, predictions about when we think each customer is due to reorder, and we've also got a cross sell. So the next step is to get that into Klaviyo. We do that through these dynamic triggers that sit at the top of Klaviyo flows. In this scenario, we're talking about the replenishment flow and a dedicated cross-selling flow. And these triggers tell Klaviyo exactly which day it should send per customer. Now, sometimes we will be integrating this solution into an existing replenishment flow that a brand has. Other times it will be something that will help them create. But considering they're usually 1,000 orders per month or above brands, they usually have a replenishment flow we can work with already. Once this trigger is installed at the top of that replenishment flow, it just means that the time frame at which these messages are sent out changes dramatically, customer to customer. So for me, it might send after 34 days after I've purchased. For you, it might send after 46 days, for example. It means you can just do the heavy lifting in one replenishment flow of what would normally be required, maybe 20 different segment flows to just accommodate people's different consumption rates. When people receive those emails or SMS from you directly within Klaviyo, they click on the call to action, which is reorder. They land in our magic cart, and this magic cart is now preloaded with that product that they were due to replenish. It's preloaded with a you may also like section with those cross sells. And if they hit checkout now, we load all of that previous checkout details straight into the native Shopify checkout. So essentially they can have paid just within 3 clicks of receiving those comms from you. And what we find is by sending those messages at a way more targeted time frame and then removing all the friction at the end of the journey, we can usually increase the revenue that's being driven from that replenishment flow somewhere between 15% and 40%. Maybe we can add a few case studies in the bio of this episode.
Yeah. Wonderful. Yeah, we can definitely share that with our listeners. So I love that you call out like how clean you can a merchant can keep their Klaviyo, and that you don't have to have all these different flows that then you have to go and update. Do you find that's a pretty big factor with the merchants that you all are working with, for like their CS team, of being able to just keep it super concise? I know most small teams, also big teams, but most small teams enjoy when things are, simplified and just very clean, very straightforward, easy to update if you need to across the board, but also maintain customization.
Yeah, during the kind of introductory and demo process with brands, a lot of the time they tell me that they're actually doing this work manually already. So they're struggling to strategize how to do it. They're struggling to break down the data. And then once they've managed to get the data and the insights, they're splicing it into Klaviyo flows, but then it's out of date within the course of the next order that comes into the store because it just needs constant revisiting. So yeah, it removes that setup time, but then it also means that you don't have to constantly be monitoring it on a monthly basis and updating everything with your latest insights, which is what brands normally have to do if they just use a standalone analytics platform. Because many standalone analytics platforms will offer a lot of similar insights to what we do. But I think the secret sauce, which drives a lot of value for our brands, is that we then make sure that it can all be piped straight into Klaviyo in a way which actually directly impacts revenue, rather than it just sitting in a different platform and then you have to constantly manually update everything using that information.
Yep, right. Consolidation. It's 2024. Yeah. Consolidation is the key, so, right? Feeling like the theme of the year.
Yeah. So next area is gaining subscribers. So if you're a subscription brand, obviously the holy grail in terms of lifetime value is getting new subscription customers, whether you're using Recharge, Skio, Yotpo subscriptions, Loop subscriptions, whatever it might be. What are the problems here? Well, it's hard to identify the right customers who've bought subscribable products and who could be ready to try a subscription when. It's really complex for building out Klaviyo flows to target the right customer onto the right subscription product, especially at the right subscription frequency, which is actually going to suit the historic consumption of that particular customer. So most brands just tend to rely on the website to capture new subscribers with subscribe and save options, and they focus on discounting within Klaviyo and sending out large list campaigns, educating people about subscriptions. So what we do here is we start to predict which customers are ready for a subscription. And the way that we do that is by monitoring all the repeat purchase customers and running through the following logic. is the product that this customer purchasing on repeat, is that product something that's available for subscription? Great. If it is, have customers converted from repeat purchase onto a subscription at this particular moment of the customer journey before? But most importantly, is the range between orders at which this customer is coming back and habitually repurchasing from you, is that range really well lined up to one of the subscription frequencies you have on offer? Because to use an example, if I have been coming back for the last 4 months and I've purchased on day 31, day 28, day 25, and day 30, for example, on month number 5, I am probably in the perfect position to convert onto not only a subscription, but specifically a monthly subscription, because I've been consuming the product at that particular speed and I'm kind of pre-validated for that particular subscription plan. So when we have a high confidence score in our predictive analytics, we again trigger a flow within Klaviyo. This time the creative is around encouraging someone to try a subscription. So it would be something like, hey, Mariah, you seem to really love this product. We've noticed you've ordered it multiple times now. Have you considered putting this on autopilot to unlock yourself X, Y, and Z partner perks, subscription perks, sorry. When you click on that email, again, when you land in our magic cart, it's contextual around helping you check out onto that subscription as smoothly as possible. So we take the subscription product and we load it into there. But what we also do is we take the frequency at which the customer is best suited to that subscription, and we add a tooltip at the bottom that says, based on your purchase history, we recommend 1 delivery every X number of months, and that's pre-selected as a frequency. The customer can toggle on to a one-time purchase if they want, but the idea here is this is optimized to cherry pick your best, most consistent performing repeat purchase customers and just systematically move them across onto your subscription program, where we know the lifetime value of them is going to be so much greater. And also for a lot of these brands, because they are in the kind of investor life cycle and they're in the venture world, a lot of them are marked on their lifetime value is one of their core metrics, and gaining subscribers is usually one of the highest leverage ways for them to increase that particular metric. And of course, each subscription customer that's being gained might be worth, let's say, 6 or 7 future purchases. So it can be extremely high leverage thing to start gaining.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, increasing LTV is such a strong use case with using subscriptions to do so, especially if that's what, your customer, if they're just not aware that you have a subscription option, but are repeating their purchases with you of the same product. It makes a ton of sense to make sure that you're getting that in front of your customers. So correct me if I'm wrong, but traditionally you're sending these, you're triggering these Klaviyo flows with marketing emails, not transactional emails, correct?
That's correct. Yeah.
Okay.
Because they are, they're marketing focused.
Yep. Have you ever, I'm not sure if there's even the potential for this crossover, but have you seen someone been able to use this logic in a transactional email, or no, because of the restrictions around transactional emails?
Yeah, I believe it's currently restricted. However, we do have a number of brands who use Relo in conjunction with Malomo just for the overall customer experience. So we have, for example, our automations driving replenishment, driving subscription upsells, and then once those orders have happened, the Malomo tracking coming in and the Malomo transactional updates all coming through, and things like much easier subscription management via the subscription integrations as well. A prime example of that would be Soylent, who were set up by the ElectraIQ team, I believe.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah,
I don't know if I've pronounced that right. ElectraIQ.
You did.
Or electric?
Yeah, it's electric. Yep.
Okay. Yeah. But yeah, so that would be the kind of flagship use case I'd point to, and we have a case study with Soylent just specifically around their cross selling, but it's somewhat related as it just runs kind of in parallel within Klaviyo next to Malomo.
Yes. Yep. Totally makes sense. Just wanted to ask. Was curious, if anyone's been able to do so. Yeah, this is great. Cool. I think the magic cart is like the fact that it pops up and you don't have to take a customer back to your site just to check out and like see all these things. I'm sure brands really see the value in that. And I hope our listeners even if they're just listening, not even viewing. It makes such a clear use case for if you want to increase repeat orders and get people on subscription, why wouldn't you use all the customer data that you have, especially with, privacy changes of you know, brands not having access to maybe quote unquote more traditional data, or we might start to see even more data, customer data just be harder to use in certain campaigns. So I think something like this is great just for awareness as well for our listeners of like, okay, this is out there. That's such a big piece of the puzzle, right? Of someone just finding awareness around like, oh, this is how some people in the Shopify space are solving this specific issue. Like it's just, you wouldn't know something until you do. So it's great to see.
Yeah. And I think, to your point there is a huge number of tools for D2C brands generally. And I think how we've been able to kind of carve a niche in this particular space is literally because we just don't work with 90% of other brands in the D2C space. We just work with brands who are in the CPG vertical of a particular size who have subscriptions as well. So it helps us kind of really narrow things down. So yeah, I think that's why we've managed to basically work with many of the top CPG brands worldwide, because we're just innovating to solve their specific challenges rather than spreading ourselves a lot wider, which is of course a kind of different positioning in the SaaS space.
Right. Yeah, that's also a great point.
So finally here, I just wanted to outline an exclusive offer that we'd like to offer to all friends of Malomo. We are very happy to offer a 30-day trial as a proof of concept to any brands who might be interested. The way that this typically works is if I get speaking to a brand, I ask if they're able to share their number of orders per month in Shopify, which means I can come up with a post-trial pricing quote. Our pricing ranges from $250 per month and upwards, but I can come up with specifics if I know the order volumes. Once I know the order volumes, I can also come up with a simulation of how much revenue I think we can drive for the brand. So what we do is we tend to offer a 30-day trial, and we set up everything beforehand with our in-house Klaviyo experts to make sure it's all completely optimized for you and relatively hands-free from a setup perspective. 30-day trial to prove the impact, and then we review all the results together at the end. So you can come to an informed decision about whether you'd like to continue, basically. So yeah, any CPG and subscription centric brands out there who think this could be a good fit, just let me know.
Wonderful.
And we'll have my email address in the bio of the episode, I assume, as well.
Yes. Yep. Yeah. We will. Thank you for extending the offer to our listeners. I know that when we have exclusive offers, we are extremely grateful that you all are willing to extend that to our listeners, and we'll make sure that that your email's in the bio, so it's easy for any of those CPG subscription focused brands to reach out. And even if someone isn't in the CPG space, I know that this these learnings are still can help, even if you're not in the space of thinking through, okay, what is this specific problem I'm trying to solve with repeat orders or subscriptions? How can I maybe look at it in a different light, having heard you speak with our listeners, Harry. So thank you for offering that. And it has been a joy having you on. I really like this new version of the podcast. And so I hope it's been fun getting to kind of get into the weeds a little bit more and really think through some stuff that is helping, Shopify merchants each and every day.
Awesome. Yeah. Thank you, Mariah. I don't know where my video's gone. Something strange is happening with Zoom, but
I do see that, but luckily,
thank you very much for having me on.
Yeah. Wonderful.
It's
okay.
been a pleasure.
It's been great.
And
yes, great to hear.
Thanks very much.